So Beth, can you tell me how many we have? I can't see that. Participants.
We have 42.
That's probably where we're going to plateau. So I think we'll get started, and as people sign in, then they can catch up. So let me first say again that this session will be recorded and it will be posted on the research website. If any of your colleagues are unable to attend, or if you want to take another listen. The slides will also be posted on the research website. So my name is Rose Wesson. I'm interim associate provost for research here at City College. And what we want to use this session for is to update the entire CCNY community on the CRV, status of the college-wide research vision. I will also say that if you have questions, please put them in the chat and we'll come back to them at the end of the session. I can't necessarily see the chat right now, but the chat is being monitored, and then we'll address questions at the end. So, CRV. Let me first make sure everybody's on the same page when we're talking about our college-wide research vision. Remember, this is the seed funding competition for our community, for CCNY. The idea is we want to fund challenging real-world problems or issues, and we're trying to do this by getting diverse teams together. That is, diverse ways of thinking. We're trying to cut across all the schools and divisions here at City College, and we still want to look at fundamental research, but we want to apply it to real-world problems. So our objectives were, and still are, to remove the silos. We're trying to, again, cut across all of our schools and divisions at City College, and we want to address problems that have an impact on humanity, problems that have implications or challenges that address issues in New York City, the state, and then by extension, we can talk about the country and potentially global challenges that might take place. We're bringing together faculty. And the idea is that when we bring together faculty from different disciplines, we can ask questions from multiple angles. So not only from science, not only from engineering, but how can we also ask questions from social sciences, from the arts and humanities? How can we collaborate and tear down these academic barriers? That's our goal for the CRV. Our timeline. We announced this opportunity in October, the beginning of October. We had a town hall on the 21st of October, and the deadline for submission of our concept papers was December
Yeah,
1st.
sure.
So we're going to ask everybody to mute themselves.
I can't believe that guy is doing that.
Shakila, can you mute yourself? Thank you.
Rose, if you make me a co-host, I can mute people.
It's too late now.
Okay.
So the concept papers were due December 1st. The reason for this update now is to talk about the concept papers that we've received and where do we go from here. So I get so many questions. And so what I try to do is put these questions into the presentation. And once December 1st at 11:59 passed, my phone started blowing up with who won. On December 2nd, everybody wanted to know who submitted concept papers, who won the competition. Well, that's not exactly what we said we were going to do here. In the original paper, in the original one pager that went out and also in the town hall, we discussed that this would be a multi-stage process. That once we received the concept papers, we do want to have discussions between the teams. And those discussions could lead to potentially merging projects, potentially bringing in other collaborators, but it's not you submitted a paper and therefore you have won, or the decision has been made and you are the winner of the trophy. So what did we get? We received 16 concept papers, and this, I actually was floored by this. I was expecting to receive 1 or 2 concept papers. I was hoping to receive maybe between 5 and 10, but we actually received concept papers, 16 concept papers from all 8 schools and divisions. Everybody across City College was represented in some fashion in 1 or more of the concept papers. Varying degrees of collaboration, and then the topics that I personally bent. So there's no implications. You shouldn't infer anything from these topics, but as a way of discussing the concept papers, I originally had planned to discuss each paper, but because we have 16 of them, I don't think we have the time to discuss each one in detail. So what I chose to do was bend them around these topics. Now the topics, some of the papers, concept papers, apply in various categories, and they, may have challenges or issues or research associated with multiple categories. But just to discuss these papers, this is how they were bent. So we received 5 concept papers in the area of climate change. We also received papers in the area of energy, what I call government and politics, as well as health-related research issues. So let's first talk about what we received. Oh, sorry, can't talk about that yet. So where we are now is just in our timeline that was given in the beginning. We're right now in the December-January timeframe where we're talking about the concept papers, we're reviewing the concept papers and potential teams that submitted and can be merged or discussed. So what did we receive? These next couple of slides will simply give you the titles of the papers that were submitted, along with the PIs and the teams that were submitted. Now, what we'd like for everyone to do is to go to the website and actually read the concept papers. We noted in the beginning that the papers are not confidential. So the material that you put in your papers will be accessible to the public. So let's talk about, we received climate change, urban inequality, and housing justice. So the PI was from Colin Powell School, and then we've also had collaboration with Grove School of Engineering. This second one down here talked about the maple project. This has to do with maple sugar production and the effect of climate change on maple sugar production. PI being from science, and collaborators from Hunter, so outside of City College, as well as Colin Powell, Humanities and Arts, as well as an external collaborator. Now remember, the guideline stated that we can have collaborators internationally. It doesn't have to be focused on City College, but the funding is restricted to City College personnel. But external collaboration is more than welcome. This top one up here, my people are in the way, convergence research for an inclusive city. So this was more like urban studies, urban planning type research, but it did have a climate change effect as to how is climate affecting how we plan in our cities, and what can we do as a result of climate change in our urban city planning. So Architecture was the lead on this, along with Grove School of Engineering. The middle one here talked about our critical infrastructure and the effect of climate on our infrastructure as well, being led by John Philos in Grove School of Engineering with partnership with architecture, science, and Colin Powell. And then the one here, a decent proposal for environmental justice, also dealt with climate change from a humanities and arts perspective. Now, what pleased me is that there's a wide range of collaboration in these proposals. And it's not one school or division, but there's partnerships ongoing. The papers we received in energy were related to community energy cells that was PI'd, led by Grove School of Engineering, along with partnerships in architecture and Colin Powell, as well as CWE. Solar energy harvesting research was proposed by Science with collaboration of architecture and Grove School. Shi Chen from Grove School of Engineering proposed evaporation energy. How can you harvest some of the energy associated with evaporation? And he's partnered with architecture and Colin Powell. We also had wind energy concept paper. Again, submitted by Grove School of Engineering as the PI, but partnerships with CUNY, external, and Princeton, and then a potential marine ecologist. Yeah, it was a marine ecologist, which was to be determined. Again, all of these concept papers reach out beyond one PI's or one school's expertise. The political and government ones, humanities and arts, how to negotiate historical narratives for a more inclusive and safer future. This was led by humanities and arts with partnerships in architecture and Colin Powell. Mitigating the effects of war on vulnerable populations, leading Colin Powell and School of Medicine. Humanities and Arts and CWE were also partners. And finally, this one seems a little bit of a stretch in terms of our game theory, but one of the applications has to do with government policies and procedures. So Akira from Grove School of Engineering was a PI on this one, along with science, Colin Powell, and humanities. Finally, the four health-related concept papers were submitted. We have AI and machine learning that was to deal with medical sensing. Lead PIs from Grove with partnerships in science. The ultra, super continuum, and higher harmonic generation source for UV and X-ray microscopy, but it had an application in medicine. So it's in our health-related bin. This was a PI of Bob Alfano in science with partnerships in Grove School of Engineering and School of Medicine. An interesting the beloved community. This had to do with COVID-19 and the impact on community. This was out of education, where education was the PI, Grove and science were collaborators. And finally, the last one, this should be number 16, we had artificial intelligence for health equity and diversity. And this was led by School of Medicine with Grove, Science, and Colin Powell, and architecture being collaborators. Again, health-related, not only School of Medicine, not only Science and Engineering, but we also have Colin Powell involved with education. So it's a broad range of participants and collaborations for the concept papers, which is great, which is what we were looking for, which is what we can build upon. All right, so that's all I want to say about the papers, but I want to encourage you to go to the website, read the papers and see how it may overlap with what you're proposing, or how you might be able to be involved in any of that research that has been proposed. But the question now is, where do we go from here? And on our timeline, we stated from January to March, we would do coordination, facilitation of potential CRV teams. What does that mean? Well, let me tell you what it means. We again said that we plan for multi-stage discussions. We plan for teams that could merge, teams that could collaborate, teams that could continue to be strengthened perhaps by conversations. And it could merge into single funded project. It could merge into stronger teams that funnel up to a project that would receive funding. How do we get there? So the concept papers will be posted on the research website, but the teams are also encouraged to work with team science facilitators. And we are currently coordinating with potential external team science facilitators. What do we mean by this? What is team science? If you're not familiar with team science, it's a collaborative effort to address challenges, leveraging strengths and expertise of specific individuals trained in different fields. So you have the cross-disciplinary research that we're talking about. We have the collaboration that we're encouraging, and the result is team science. Why do we need team science? We're talking about bigger problems. We're increasing the scale and complexity of the types of research that we're proposing. And it's becoming more and more difficult for single investigators to achieve the results needed for these larger projects. And so what team science focuses on is how can we teach, how can we work with larger groups rather than individual investigators to address these larger projects and increase the rate at which the progress is obtained. So when I started talking about this to some researchers, the response was, well, we can do this ourselves. Either, Rose, why don't you come in and work with the groups and talk about how to collaborate? Or we can hire somebody from CUNY to come in and discuss collaboration. How do you work together? How is everybody's voice heard? Well, that's all well and good, but first of all, I don't have any expertise in team science. I know when I see it, but I'm not a team science expert. And also, we do not have a team science expert in-house in City College. But if we hire an external facilitator, the external facilitator will bring in that expertise. He or she will also have pre-preparation. So we all have day jobs. We all are teaching, we all are doing research, we all are doing administration. And if we attempt to do this facilitation as well, then we may not be as prepared as an external person would be, who does this as their job. Also, managing meeting dynamics. We know that meeting dynamics, especially with professors, can be challenging. And it's even more complicated when you know the people in the room. So bringing an external person in who does not have any any interactions with anyone in the room makes it easier to deal with those meeting dynamics. They also bring in an independent perspective outside of what we think is normal here at City College and even within CUNY. And that independent perspective can be useful, especially when we're trying to handle tough, large-scale problems. It allows full engagement by the participants, meaning I'm not there taking notes and also trying to lead the meeting. So everybody who participates can be a participant. You don't have to be also worried about how's the meeting going? Am I being effective in my presentation? Am I getting buy-in and participation from everybody in the room? And then one of the other ones that they say is that the risk reduction is reduced. We don't want to waste people's time. We don't want to have this activity and people come away and say, you know, I just spent X number of days, X number of weeks, and it was a complete waste of time. So we want to make sure that when we bring the people together, we can have a productive environment. Why should teams participate? Encourages researchers from a broad range of disciplines to apply what you know about a specific problem to the greater problem. So you can potentially have an impact on this problem because my expertise is in a particular area. So say, for instance, my expertise is in carbon sequestration, which it is not. But say, for instance, my expertise is in carbon sequestration. And I have developed or I have some successful research in that area. But I cannot impact, as an engineer, I have trouble impacting policy such that my idea is adopted by the city, by the state, by the country. So I need to partner with somebody who has expertise in that area, and we work together to make this a success. So each participant can approach a problem in a different way, often they're offering their own perspective to the greater good. It offers a way to be more involved with a project that potentially has more impact than your specific day-to-day research. And it's an opportunity to network. And these skills, I argue, are useful not only in this seed competition, not only here at City College, but they're applicable for additional funding opportunities. And remember, you know, we're trying to impact the world, but selfishly, we are also trying to increase our funding here at City College. Are teams required to participate? Nope. We cannot force anyone to participate in these activities. But we do say that the final team, the CRV final team, will be selected from the facilitated workshop participants. And I'll say again that all participants will benefit from this team science approach. It's something that I think would be useful not only here in the seed funding opportunity, but in proposals and research going forward. How long will this process take? We anticipate the workshops will begin in January. As I said previously, we're talking with external team science facilitators currently. And we're hoping to start mid to late January and continue through April or May. Remember, the final project selection will be in June, and the projects are scheduled to begin in July. I don't think I have a slide on this, but a question that I received is, who makes the decisions? Who makes the selection? Who announces, who determines the winner? The CRC, the College Research Council, will be involved in this process, and they will make recommendations to the upper administration as to, based on how the workshops are going and the interactions that we will have with the CRC, they will make recommendations to the provost and the president, who will make the final decisions as to which teams will be awarded, which team will be awarded. That's another question that I did not put in here. I think I'm sort of getting ahead of myself here, but recognize we're still anticipating, we still are planning for $200K of funding per year for up to 3 years. So one of the questions that I received is, Rose, rather than having a 200K project, why don't we just make 4, since there were 4 categories there, why don't we just make 4 50K awards and then move forward from there? We could do that, but the magnitude, I think, of the problems, the challenges, the impact that we want to have, I'm not sure it can be accomplished with building a team and only having 50K to work with. So we want to make sure that we provide the funding necessary to allow the team to be successful. And we want the team to have partnerships such that there are a number of people involved in the team. And therefore, the funding has to be match the actual team makeup. So personally, I don't think 50K will be enough to have our impact. So we are planning to still have one team awarded up to 200K for up to 3 years. So what happens next? Researchers should review the 16 concept papers. That's the first step. Everyone should be familiar with what was submitted. Our CRC meeting, our next CRC meeting is December 15th. I think that's a week from yesterday. We will have this discussion at the CRC meetings, but a suggestion has been made, and we'll discuss it at the CRC, is that not only should the researchers read the concept papers, there may be some visuals that are needed as well that will assist in making these connections between the teams. So one suggestion was that each team may be asked, and we haven't made this request yet, but may be asked to provide a PowerPoint slide that will illustrate in one slide what you're proposing. You know, your objective, the approach, the impact, the merit in one slide. We may also request a 5 to 7 minute video. That was another suggestion. We haven't discussed this with the CRC yet, so it's not a request, but it's an option that we have, that we may request a 5 to 7 minute video that will be a presentation of the concept papers, that the PIs involved will do this video. We also want to discuss these ways to move forward with the team science facilitator. He or she may have other suggestions as to how we can begin to bring these teams together so that they're talking to one another and potentially working with one another. So additional information will be forthcoming. I would say by the end of the year at the latest, but everybody will be kept informed. So this is a page from our website that outlines the PIs for each of the 16 concept papers, the departments they're associated with, the titles that we all discussed, and these links will become active after this presentation. So this is how you can find the actual papers that were submitted. This is the address, but as I said before, if you go to ccny.cuny.edu, if you go to the website and just put in CRV, you'll be taken to the CRV page. And this is a page that will show how to get to the concept papers. All right, so we've seen this timeline about 3 or 4 times now. We anticipate these workshops, these team science activities will take place this spring, sometime between January and March. The CRC will be involved so that once the teams are massaged or communicate and maybe, maybe after we meet with our team science facilitator, maybe we still have 16 teams. I hope not. I hope we somehow are coalescing around a theme, and we can even bring in maybe external people that we had not thought about, but whatever, that happens over the next 3 or 4 months. That information will be presented to the CRC at that conclusion. We call college coordination when we start making these presentations to the provost and the president. And then the final selection occurs in June, with CRV projects starting in July. I've done a lot of talking. Are there any questions?
So Rose, there are a couple of questions in the chat.
Okay.
One person asks whether or not they'll have a chance to update their submission to add their collaborators, their external
Yes.
collaborators, before it's posted on the website.
No. So this is an ongoing process. So you'll be able to update, you'll be able to make changes, you'll be able to include. Some people may choose to drop out. So the process will be changing as we proceed. But what we have right now is what we have right now. So we're going to put that information on the website. You can make updates, and as we proceed, you can make changes. But for right now, the concept papers that are submitted will be the concept papers that will be uploaded. And we encourage these movements, these additions, these maybe subtractions, but that's encouraged.
So related to that is another question. Is the goal of the team science exercise to distill or recombine the proposals, or to just,
I'm sorry.
Is the goal of the team science exercise to distill or recombine the proposals, or to just inform the groups about best dynamics for success, or something else altogether?
So the goal of the team science activity is to enhance what we have here. Maybe you've got a project right now that is perfect. And during this time, you may make some modifications to improve it even further. But we anticipate that during that process, there will be some merging of teams, there will be some changing, but as you said, the second part, there's also a component that tells us how do we work with people different from ourselves. We talk about diversity in terms of women, and we talk about diversities in terms of underrepresented groups, but we also are diverse in terms of our disciplines. And so working with people outside of our disciplines is sometimes not as simple as we expect. So those conversations will also take place, I anticipate, during these team science activities.
So another question that Jeff asks is, when is the CRC going to request these things? And I assume you're talking about the PowerPoint and some of these other materials.
So we will meet on the 15th of December. CRC will meet on the 15th of December. We'll discuss where do we want to go from here, and where does the CRC want, how and where does the CRC want to be involved? I anticipate that this information, if needed, will be requested by the end of the year. Now, there'll be sufficient time to gather it, and that information will be uploaded on the website again. And I'm hoping these activities will occur prior to the start of any of our workshop activities in January.
Okay, another question is, are all or some on-campus collaborators expected to come to the team facilitation meetings, or just the PI of each proposal?
It will probably change depending on the discussions that are taking place, but I would anticipate that in the beginnings, the team members, it would be beneficial if everyone could be involved. And as the time progresses, there may be focused activities on certain areas. So these activities also, the facilitators we're talking with are not local. So the activities will definitely take place over Zoom, but there may be an in-person component, but they will not be 100% in person, even though we will be back on campus in the spring.
Okay, and then another question, will the final decision be based on the new potentially expanded project submission? And
Yes.
Is that deadline on your timeline?
So the final selection will be based on what happens during these three bullets. So as the teams are improved, as the teams are, I like the word distilled, then that's the information that will be presented to the college. So we may have a subset of the 16 teams that will be presented to the college in May.
Okay, and I had a question. I was wondering, based on the fact that you've been making these groupings of the proposals, should we infer that the topics of the proposals were too niche and that we should maybe consider broadening the topics so that more projects fit under a single umbrella and the collaborations are expanded?
So I didn't hear the first, I'm sorry. I didn't hear the first part of your question. Why are you inferring that they are too narrow?
Because you grouped them by health, energy, climate.
No.
Okay.
These groupings are just for the presentation here. As I stated earlier, there's overlap between even these four categories. Some proposals could have gone in multiple categories, but there's only so much room on a slide. So I put them in these categories for this presentation. They may not end up in these categories at the end of the selection process. So this was simply for this presentation.
There's no other questions in the chat, Chris.
Any other questions? Anything else anyone has burning to ask? So what I will say is I encourage, even if you didn't submit a concept paper, I encourage everyone to take a look at the research that was submitted. If you would like to be involved and have what you think is an area of research that can contribute to what has been proposed, contact the PI. Sometimes we as researchers don't know the activities that are taking place on our campus. And if you're doing research that could enhance what's being proposed in one of these concept papers, feel free to contact the PI.
A question just popped up in the chat. How do we contact PIs? Will these proposals actually have email or any kind of information like that on it?
These are your colleagues. If you type in their name in the to address in an email, I bet it'll pop up. Their CCNY email address will pop up. These are all, PIs are all CCNY people. If you don't know them and you want to call them on the phone, go to the directory, type in their name, they'll have a phone number there. All the PIs here are CCNY faculty. Anything else, Beth?
Nope.
Rose?
Actually, Shakila asks, who are the members of the College Research Council and how was it constituted?
Oh, don't ask that question, Shakila. The CRC membership is on the website. It contains all 8 deans plus 4 additional faculty members. The minutes for past meetings are on there. The chair of the CRC is Araceli. Help me, Araceli. Tianjero.
Yes, Tinajero, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rose, yes. Araceli Tinajero.
She's the chair of the CRC. The members of the CRC were elected by the Faculty Senate. That's why it's important to go to Faculty Senate meetings. And additional information about the CRC is on the College Research website.
Rose,
Yes.
do you expect another CRV for next year, or is this one shot and that's it?
One shot and done, huh? I can't say. It would be great if we could do this annually. But I can't promise that. And I think the best we can do is, at this point, is every other year, because we want to see how this is going to work out. Remember, once the team is selected, reports will be required every 6 months to the Office of Research, and presentations to the CRC will be required annually. So we do want to assess the progress. So remember, we're looking at external funding. Is that coming along, or have proposals been submitted? How are we doing in terms of growing and sustaining the seed funding? So since this is a new activity, I don't think that we'll have another one in 2022, 2023. I think we want to assess how this one's going. And then if it's a positive activity, there's a potential we can have one in 2 years, another opportunity in 2 years. Shucks.
One other question.
Yeah.
You know, the notification for July 1st means that the team will lose 2 months because they might not be here.
Well, where will you be, John?
Huh? Hopefully
where
some
will you
other place. No, the thing is that, you know, we are going to be, you know, people are going to be here, so they're not going to, you know, or they're going to be here involved in another project. hopefully, you know, I have enough summer salary that will be working on another project.
So that's the thing. So I have two things. One that I wanted to say that you reminded me. This time between now and July 1st, for instance, we want to put in the time and the effort so that when July comes, everyone or the selected team can hit the ground running. It's not that we want to take the time come July, that we will start learning one another, we'll get to know one another, we'll do this. We want to make sure that this time now is useful in terms of building those collaborations so that we can hit the ground running. We also say that the budget, you guys determine what your budget will be, but the budget could include summer salary. So, you know, if there's a potential to be research active during the summer, then that can be included into your budget.
Can you elaborate us the money, how it's spent? Because I thought it was very restricted.
Very restricted?
There's only so much money that can be allocated to faculty.
I don't think we said that.
Well, I read it, I don't know. Maybe I misunderstood.
So
How is the money you're gonna be used? What are the appropriate?
we encourage
Yes.
that you spend a portion of the funds on a project manager. That is somebody that might be a postdoc, whatever you want to call them, so that they can help oversee this effort, that they can make sure that the team is functioning as a team. That's a recommendation, not a requirement, but a recommendation. But the funds have to be used by City College personnel. They can be used for a summer salary. They can be used for OTPS. They can be used for, what else would you like to use it for?
Well, we had other things in mind, but anyway, we'll discuss that. Let me, something else also on this. You mentioned the word postdoc, and we were thinking of that also, but there's not gonna be, you know, if you let us know in July 1st,
Right.
this postdoc is not gonna appear here in July 2nd. You know?
No, I agree with that.
So I think the date is really, should be changed maybe to September 1st.
So
You know,
sure, if you-
to me,
if
it's
we
2 months are lost, you know, completely.
So if we make the award announcement in July 1,
Yeah,
and you don't want to get started until September 1st, that's on you. But you still have an annual report that's due January.
no, but
I mean, a
it would
6-month
start,
report.
no, it would start September 1st, you know, that's when you start working.
Sure,
So
but you will still have a report that's due in
it's 6 months.
6 months from July.
It all depends what kind of report, anyway.
Okay,
Well, I think the point is well taken in one sense here that one could have a no-cost extension if you're talking about not being able to get an essential person started until September 1st, Rose.
so truthfully, if you do make an award in July and you can't get your postdoc until January of the following year, that doesn't preclude working on the project.
Of course not, but I'm just saying that in terms of, is there some sort of, you know, you fund people often on a yearly cycle, right? And so if it's just an issue of the ability to make a commitment to a person if you can't get them on board on July 1st and the money terms July 1st of the next year.
So as we progress down this road, this is all internal funding. So we can work with the teams, but the award decisions are made July 1. Other questions? Okay, thank you, everyone. I think this is exciting to me. I hope it's exciting to you. And you'll be hearing from me again, but have a good holiday. And as I said during the Grove School meeting, get your booster shots. Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen.
Thanks, Rose.
All right, take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Alex? He's gone.
I think he's gone.
Yeah. Is he, I don't know, he looked like he's on campus, no?
Yeah, he was in his office down here. Are
Okay.
you on campus?
Yes.
Yeah, Alex is here.
Where else can I be?
I don't know. Sometimes you go to Greece, is what I heard.
That's July. July, yes. Okay. All right, Rose. Nice to see you.
All right,
Have
take
a-
care, Don.
Enjoy the holidays.
You too.
Bye.
Let's see, I think we might have to end the meeting for the rest of these folks. Oh, I'm sorry, I should stop recording.